Gotcha. Are you Latino?
No, Italian.
Italian?
Yeah, on both sides. Yeah.
That's awesome. There's a lot of Italians where I live. In
Oh.
Syracuse.
You don't say.
Lots of Italians and Irish people.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to go ahead and get started. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for making it down here to Washington, D.C. This is a really great place, isn't it? My name is Raymond. I use he, him pronouns, and I work as the National Field Director at Asian and Pacific Islander American Vote, or API Vote for short. We are a national organization based here in Washington, D.C., and we work with over 80 partners all across 28 different states, with the ultimate goal of increasing civic participation among Asian Americans, Native Hawaiians, and Pacific Islanders all around the country. I've been doing this work for about 10 years now. I've served in a number of different positions before coming into my current role. And today we're going to be leading you all in a discussion entitled Voter Ed and 501c, Is Advocacy the Path for Me? And we're going to be talking about work in the advocacy space and how we came into our current positions and some of the challenges and opportunities that we've encountered here in our current role. And near the end, we're also going to invite you to ask any questions that you might have of us. We'll invite you to share any experiences that you may have had working in the space if you currently work in the space. And ultimately, we want you to walk out of this discussion today feeling like you know a little bit more about what it's like to work in advocacy or in the nonprofit 501c3, 501c4 space. So before we go any further, I want to give a special shout out to America Votes for sponsoring this discussion this morning. And I also want to give a special shout out to all of our virtual participants who are watching this discussion today on live stream on YouTube. So thank you all again for coming in. So we're going to go ahead and get started. To my left here is my colleague, Max Sarvello. He is the manager. I'm sorry. What are your preferred pronouns?
He/him.
Oh, gotcha. He is the manager of executive affairs and operations at the Voter Participation Center and the Center for Voting Information. I'm going to go ahead and pass it over to you, Max. Will you introduce yourself for our audience?
Absolutely. And thank you for that wonderful introduction. Hey, y'all. My name is Maximilian Sarvello. I am the manager of executive affairs at the Voter Participation Center and Center for Voter Information. I use he/him pronouns. A little bit about, did you want to go into background right now, our stories and stuff like that? Okay, cool. So just to give you a quick overview of how I got to my role where I'm at today. I'm originally from Detroit, Michigan, born and raised there. And my parents actually were very involved in the labor movement growing up. And they really tried to instill in my sister and I a sense of hard work, be nice to people, and stand up for what you believe to be right. But like most teenage boys, I ran away from that idea right when I got to college and decided I did not want to get into the civic engagement and advocacy space. So I actually started out in investment banking, believe it or not. But a weird and funny thing happened, as often does in life. I got this really weird opportunity to meet Congressman John Lewis, who is this really giant from the civil rights movement and really wonderful member of Congress who passed away not too long ago. And Congressman Lewis invited me to a discussion he had where he wanted to invite young people to encourage them to get involved in advocacy work. And after that discussion in what was early 2018, I quit my job right there and I went and hopped on a political campaign. And then from there, I did a strand of political campaigns going back and forth for about 3 or 4 years. And then once the 2020 cycle ended, and political campaigns were kind of put off on the back burner, I decided I wanted to get into issue advocacy and civic engagement work. And everyone I talked to in my network talked a lot about how I should check out the Voter Participation Center, where I'm currently at today. The Voter Participation Center is one of the nation's largest nonprofits that works in voter engagement work. We at the Voter Participation Center work to register and turn out and educate the new American majority. The new American majority comprises of young people, people of color, and unmarried women, and young people under the age of 35. And each and every day, it's such a joy to wake up and to get to do this kind of work and work to register the new American majority and try to make the world just a little bit of a better place. But yeah, that's how I got here. And I'd love to ask the same question of you. Believe it or not, this is the first time we've met, actually. So I'd love to hear your story and how you got to where you're at today as well.
Yeah, thanks, Max. I don't know if y'all can tell that we just met 25 minutes ago. Um, but yeah, I'm happy to share a little bit more about my background and how I got into the work. So I am a Georgia native. I moved to Syracuse, New York about a year ago. But Georgia is always going to have a special place in my heart, especially nowadays. You see Georgia all over the news. It has quite truly become a battleground state. And it'll be interesting to see where Georgia ends up in 2022, 2024, and beyond. I'm Filipino American. I moved here to the United States at the age of 1. And I mentioned that, and it is relevant because when I was 10 years old, I became undocumented. This means that I lost my legal status here in the United States. It also meant that at any moment, the federal government could have come and detained me and my family and deported us back to the Philippines. And you know, when you're 10 years old, you don't really understand the implications of what being undocumented means. And as I got older, I started to realize that being undocumented meant that I couldn't do many of the things that my friends were able to do. Simple things like getting a driver's license or applying for your first job or even thinking about college. And so that was kind of when I started to realize that there needs to be a way for people in positions similar to mine to be able to advocate for themselves. I didn't come to that realization until much later. When I was in high school and all my friends were getting their driver's licenses and starting to work their first jobs, applying to college, that's when it really hit me that being undocumented really sucks. At the same time, my parents told me never to talk about my immigration status. They told me never to share my story, my immigration story with anyone, because if I told the wrong person, they could, report us to the federal government, and it could put our family in great danger. So it was very difficult, and the summer between my sophomore and junior year of high school, I had reached an absolute breaking point. It was the lowest point, I would say, in my entire life. And I actually, that summer, tried to take my own life. And I know it doesn't sound relevant to this discussion today, but that was the moment when I survived my suicide attempt that I realized that, my life should be devoted to advocating for people like me, advocating for other immigrants and refugees. And so at that moment, that was when I decided that I wanted to get into advocacy work in one form or another. So for a long time, I really wanted to go to law school. That was my biggest aspiration. I always dreamed of becoming an immigration attorney. And so in the years following, everything that I did when I was in college and beyond was really with this goal in mind of going to law school. So because I was undocumented, this was another major challenge, because in my home state of Georgia, undocumented people, unfortunately, are not able to be admitted into the state bar. So even if I had gone to law school in Georgia, even if I had taken the bar and applied for admission, because of my immigration status, something that I had no control over, it was very unlikely that I would have been able to practice law in the state of Georgia. And so my advisors in college were like, look, why don't you set aside your law school aspirations for now, work, get some work experience, and then revisit law school in the future. And so when I was in college, I ended up getting a job offer from a local Asian American advocacy organization in Atlanta, Georgia, called the Asian American Legal Advocacy Center, which is now Asian Americans Advancing Justice Atlanta. It was a really great experience. I actually started this job thinking that I was going to be doing immigrant rights work, that I was going to be doing immigration law stuff. I actually ended up getting accredited by the US Department of Justice as an accredited representative, which means that I was licensed to represent people before the United States Citizenship and Immigration Services and the Board of Immigration Appeals. And then when I started this job, I kind of was thrown into this world of civic engagement. My first day on the job, my boss was like, actually, we want you to lead our civic engagement programs. And I was like, civic engagement? What the heck is that? And so I learned everything that I could about civic engagement work and really enjoyed it. I mean, this was the heart of organizing to me. Civic engagement is about making sure that everyone recognizes how important it is to vote in every single election. And for someone like me, an undocumented person who, is not a registered voter, obviously, because I'm not a US citizen, it was even more impactful because this was a way that I could, have an influence on elections and on who would get to represent people like me and people in our community. So I did that for a couple of years, and I think the professional achievement that I'm most proud of is in 2016, I and the team that I was leading at Advancing Justice, we were able to successfully register over 11,000 new Asian American voters in the state of Georgia. Thank you. And we were able to triple Asian American voter turnout from 2012 into 2016. And that's when I really realized that nonpartisan voter engagement work is powerful. And it's a really critical way that we can ensure that our communities are represented at every level of government and that we are seen and heard in every space where important decisions are being made. So after the 2016 election, I mean, we all know how that went, right? And I wasn't happy about it. This is a nonpartisan space, so I want to make sure that people know that I wasn't happy about the 2016 election outcome without mentioning any specifics. And so I was kind of disillusioned after that point. And I did one more election cycle in 2017 with Advancing Justice. I worked on the special election of John Ossoff versus Karen Handel in Georgia. Was not happy with that election outcome either. And that's when I was like, why the heck are we even doing nonpartisan voter engagement work when, some of the people that we might be registering and turning out to vote might not be, voting the way that we would prefer them to vote. And so I ended up leaving nonpartisan nonprofit work in 2017, and I ended up working in the private sector for 4 years at an immigration law firm. I wanted to explore that opportunity. I had always wanted to be an attorney. And so I was like, why not work at a law firm? So I worked as a paralegal for 4 years, really enjoyed that, and I was good at it. By the end of it, I was training attorneys. I was helping attorneys determine, which strategy to pursue in a client's case. But then in 2021, in March, the Atlanta shootings happened. So for those of you that may be unaware, in March of 2021, a lone gunman killed 8 people in the Atlanta, Georgia area, 6 of them being Asian women or women of Asian descent. And that's kind of when I had another reckoning. I was like, this is not the kind of work I want to do for the rest of my life. And I was very fortunate that my current organization, APIA Vote, was hiring at the time for a national field director. And I ended up accepting this position. And I was really grateful. This was a little over a year ago now. And honestly, I'm loving every minute of it. This is a wonderful organization. I work with the best colleagues in the world. And it's really cool to see the kind of work that I've always done at the local and the state level scale up to the national level. And now I'm helping partners all around the country develop their own voter registration programs, their get out to vote programs, election protection. And it's really fulfilling work. And I think the last thing that I'll say is, while I was working at the law firm, I didn't completely step out of the election space because it's something that I've always been passionate about. So I've also been an independent consultant since 2018. And over the years, I've worked with dozens of clients, everyone from political candidates to other 501c3 and C4 organizations to PACs, to help develop their field plans and optimize their field programs in order to be as impactful as possible. So I've continued that work over the years, and this year, I've gotten to the point in my consulting business as a sole proprietor that I've gotten a lot more requests for work than I can take on. And it feels really great to know that people find the work to be valuable. And I see this as an opportunity to potentially scale up this work in the future. So getting back into our conversation here, I know that I spoke for a while, but Max, I want to ask you, what are some key what are some key skills that you think are important for folks to be successful in a career in advocacy and nonprofit work?
Sure. It's a really fascinating question, too, and I'm often posed with it. I run the operations department at our organization, so oftentimes I'm onboarding a lot of new staff members, and they always ask, a question like this. And my biggest piece of advice always is to not be afraid to ask questions. We have all heard the saying, there is no such thing as a dumb question. Because oftentimes with advocacy work and civic engagement work, it's work that takes time to understand, and only experience is going to do that after a while. But for now, on the front end, one thing that can be really useful to you in your eventual career path is to ask the tough questions and ask as many questions as possible so you have a better understanding of things. So that's my number one piece of advice, ask questions. One more piece of advice I always give to new staff members is the old saying of slow is smooth, smooth is fast. A lot of times, especially when you're working in the election space or voting rights space, you feel the need to kind of really speed things up and make sure things are going at a mile a minute, often because that's just what the environment feels like, especially in today's hyper-polarized environment in the political space. But don't ever be afraid to take things slow, ask questions, try to understand things at a very ground level, and then take it from there. No one's ever going to really kind of fault you for doing any of those things. It's much more always like of a personal thing of you're thinking to yourself, oh, I need to be moving at a faster pace, or I need to be moving at this staff member's pace, or I can't be asking questions because I need to be seeming, that I know everything. Don't be afraid to ask the questions, go slow, and ultimately even to fail. You can make mistakes in this career path, but the important thing about making mistakes is that it will lead you eventually to not making any more. So those are my biggest piece of advice. That's my three big piece of advice here. Ask questions, go slow, don't be afraid to fail. And since you have much more, as we just heard, vast experience than me, I'm sure everyone else here would love to know as well what your thoughts here on this question are.
Yeah, thanks, Max. I think one big piece of advice that I would give to people is to recognize that, you can't know everything, right? But together we know a lot. I made this mistake when I was first starting in civic engagement work where, I did really well in college. I did really well in high school. And when I got into the professional world, I kind of came in feeling like I knew a ton. And I kind of had like this arrogant attitude about myself where, here's a great idea that I have. I think we should do it this way. And, that kind of attitude rubs people the wrong way. And for me specifically, I had, and my boss at the time kind of grounded me and made me realize that, there's so much that I don't yet know about effective civic engagement work and effective ways to engage with our community. So it was a very humbling moment for me. And so now I try and approach every situation that I'm in with an open mind and also with humility, because that'll take you so far. This goes into what Max was saying just now. Don't be afraid to ask questions to get the answers that you need in order to do your work more effectively. The second piece of advice that I would give is to value relationships. You never know who you're talking to, right? If you're at the grocery store or at an event like this, where you're networking and meeting new people, you never know, how someone might be able to help you down the line. So try and treat everyone with respect, treat everyone as if they hold a lot of value. No matter what you know about them or how well you know someone, there's always the chance that a relationship or a connection that you have can possibly yield you positive results in the future. At the same time, don't try and approach relationships and connections with a utilitarian mindset all the time. Like, truly value your relationships with people and truly value those connections and try and get to know people for who they are, without having any kind of agenda or anything like that. I mean, if someone down the line ends up connecting you with someone who might be able to offer you a job opportunity, then great. That is just like an auxiliary or tertiary result of that connection or that relationship. For me, I would say, so in my own personal experience, I was able to get that first job at Advancing Justice Atlanta, formerly the Asian American Legal Advocacy Center, because even before I got into professional civic engagement, professional organizing work, I was already doing a lot of organizing in college, specifically on immigrant rights. When I was in college, I was part of a group that helped to found the Georgia Undocumented Youth Alliance. And this group was committed to representing the rights of undocumented students living in the state of Georgia. And in 2013, I organized a group of people, our team organized a group of people who would eventually sue the state of Georgia for access to in-state tuition for undocumented students. And I was a plaintiff in that lawsuit. And it went on for a number of years. We actually won the lawsuit. But wait, ultimately, the Georgia Supreme Court overturned that decision. So at this point, we still don't have in-state tuition for undocumented students living in the state of Georgia. But this was a really cool initial organizing experience for me. I got a lot of opportunities to talk to the media, to share my story, to speak at things like this. And I would say that got a lot of attention. My boss at Advancing Justice Atlanta at the time ended up reading about me in the newspaper. And she found me on Facebook and reached out to me on Facebook Message and invited me to come speak at an event that Advancing Justice was hosting. So I spoke at that event. We ended up deepening our relationship. And even before I graduated from college, she had offered me a job to work at the organization. So I tell that story because, if you're currently in college and looking around the room, I presume that some of you might be, or maybe just freshly out of college, the relationships and the connections that you're making right now do matter. People are paying attention to what you're doing right now. And these are the relationships and the connections that are going to get you that job offer, hopefully in the near future. So moving along then, Max, I want to ask you, many folks in the audience today might be looking for their first role in this field or possibly making a career switch. What kind of advice would you have for those people?
Yeah, really like this question because for those of you who joined us at the beginning of the conversation, I talked about how I actually changed career paths. I did not start out in the civic engagement community. And it was, I'll be honest, I was very, very scared to do so. Very much a creature of habit, definitely did not want to step outside my comfort zone. I was quite nervous to do so. But one of the things I found that really, really helped with doing this is talking with other folks about your experience, telling them your story. Because you were just alluding this a minute ago when you were talking about, how you were invited to speak at that event and that led to your first job. If you tell folks your story and you try to connect with them on a human level, you're going to find similarities between the two of you that they'll be able to use to put you down the right path. So don't be afraid to tell your story out to others and that you are, in fact, changing career paths and doing something new. And for those of you who are maybe just considering this career path, you might have just graduated college and you're just thinking about it type thing, or you're still on the fence about it, never be afraid to step outside your comfort zone. Because speaking from experience here, it really was the best decision I had ever made in my life. I mean, it was just night and day, really was. Because I think what happens at the end of the day, if you do find that career path that you want to eventually go down, that kind of thing that you find your people too as well. I mean, one thing that I've absolutely loved about working in this space is the lifelong friends that I've made. I'm sure you can say the same. I mean, just the amount of good human and decent people that I've been able to meet. It's absolutely incredible, and they're lifelong friends that I'll carry with me for the rest of my life. Even folks, when I used to do organizing in Iowa, Iowa is such an interesting experience when you do organizing there because all these folks from across the nation kind of come into this one little spot in the Midwest, and we all got together, and we're still all lifelong friends today, despite if you're living in California, Arizona, Texas, here in DC, New York. We'll all try to find ways to connect with each other, every few months, just because we miss that human experience of being together and sharing those goals of wonderful civic engagement and advocacy work. So don't be afraid to step outside your comfort zone. It's probably my biggest piece of advice because you will find your path and your people. You never did the career change kind of like, well, actually, no, you did do the career change because you went into the private sector for a bit there. So what was that experience like for you, kind of coming back into it?
Yeah, that's a really good question. Coming back into nonprofit work, it was really great to see so many of my old friends, as you mentioned, because I started doing this many years ago now, and I took a break to work at the law firm for about 4 years. But when I came back, a lot of the people that I worked with when I was still at Advancing Justice were still around. And when I came back, it was like a big reunion. I would say that experience was really great insofar as a lot was still the same in terms of the work and the landscape, but at the same time, a lot was different, and I had to learn a lot of new things. When I left the voter engagement space in 2017, many organizations, including my own at the time, were still having some of their door-to-door canvases on sheets of paper, on a clipboard. Same thing with phone banks. And when I came back last year, I mean, pretty much exclusively, all of your canvases are on minivan now. All of your phone banks are either in the virtual phone bank or on the predictive dialer. I mean, technology has just advanced so much over the last couple of years. Now we've got relational organizing, which has been around for a long time, but now we have all of these really great tools like Outreach Circle that allow you to keep track of these relational organizing contacts. So I can only imagine where movement technology is going to take us in the near future. So yeah, I mean, it was a really great experience coming back in, and I can quite confidently say now that I don't want to go to law school anymore. This is the kind of work that I want to keep doing for the foreseeable future. I don't want to say for the rest of my life, but this is definitely what I want to keep doing because it's enjoyable, it's fulfilling, and also my partner's graduating from law school next year. So I think we only need one attorney in the family. But yeah, I mean, I guess as far as a piece of advice goes, I mean, just be as open-minded as you can be. As I mentioned, when I started my career, I was really set on going to law school, or instead of going to law school, working in the immigrant rights space. When I started my first job, I ended up doing civic engagement work. And it was outside of the immigrant rights space. I thought I was going to be working on immigration reform specifically, because that's something that I've always been passionate about. I was the kid that grew up watching C-SPAN when the DREAM Act was up for debate. And I thought that was what I was going to be working on. But then when I started my job, I got thrown into the civic engagement world that I knew nothing about, but I ended up growing to love it. And I developed this skill set that is really valuable, for a lot of different employers. If I wasn't working at APIA Vote, which I absolutely love, by the way, and I have no intention of leaving anytime soon, I could be doing the same kind of work at a different organization that could use the same skill set, that could use these relationships and these connections that I have. So we've got about 15 minutes left here. I am going to ask you one more question, Max.
Sure.
And that is, How do you balance your passion and commitment to advocacy work while still maintaining your work-life balance and/or blending?
Wow. This is probably the toughest question yet, especially these days, because we're still living through this age in the pandemic, and often we've had to find new hobbies in order to occupy ourselves and try to find that work-life balance. But for me, my kind of passion outside of civic engagement work is cooking. I am Italian American, and Sunday dinners are kind of like a very, very important thing in my family. And so every Sunday, I cook dinner for a big groups of people. I'm, like I said earlier, a creature of habit, so it's mainly Italian food. Sorry, everybody. But I really love to host these very large dinner parties with other folks in the civic engagement community and in the voting rights community and in this space, and bring them over for dinner, serve big, large quantities of gnocchi and pasta and stuff like that, and just kind of talk and hash issues out, but also hopefully kind of get a break from the everyday work life that we have. So cooking for me is really just that wonderful, wonderful escape. There's nothing that makes me happier, actually, than seeing big groups of people around a table enjoying a meal. It's just such a joy for me. And I actually am very glad you asked this question, because before I came here, I was reading your bio in the Uber, and I found out that you're a musician, right?
I am.
So maybe you could answer this question for us, but if you could, maybe relate it back to music and how that relates to your work in civic engagement.
Yeah, that's a really good question, Max, and I appreciate it. I am a musician. It's something that I enjoy doing in my spare time. I have not been able to do as much of it in recent years, but I've been playing the violin now for over 20 years. Once upon a time, I actually even considered going to college to study violin performance. So from time to time now, I will, take out my violin, play it. I also play the guitar, the piano. This is what I enjoy doing in my spare time. Something cool that I want to mention is a couple of years ago, I was approached to be a part of this project, this music project, that was connected with the work that I was passionate about, which is immigrant rights. And it was an album that was being produced called American Dreamers, Voices of Hope, Music of Freedom. It was a jazz album, and they invited me to come sing in the chorus because I also enjoy singing. I'm not the best, but I mean, I can sing in a group of people, and also tell my immigration story on the album. I encourage y'all to check it out. It's called American Dreamers, Voices of Hope, Music of Freedom, and it is a Grammy-winning album. So I can now say that that I am a Grammy winner, which I would have, not imagined several years ago when I was just, playing music for fun. Something else that I enjoy doing in my spare time to kind of balance my work and life, I have a small, he's almost 3, dog. His name is Benito. He's a Yorkie Poo, and spending time with him and my partner really brings me joy and helps keep me grounded, especially in this kind of work, because as you mentioned, Max, this work is so tough, sometimes it feels like we experience more losses than we do wins, but the wins, when they do come, are really sweet. But it's so important for us to find ways to decompress. Work-life balance is really hard, and something that I was talking to my coach about recently is that we should abandon this idea of work-life balance, especially in this virtual environment, and move into this idea of work-life blending instead. Especially, as we're working from home in a remote environment, how do we effectively blend the work that we do and the work that we're passionate about, and also, the things that we enjoy doing outside of work? So that's a constant struggle. I like to think that I've been doing this really well over the last couple of years, much better than several years ago. I would say that when I first started my career, I was very gung-ho. I was very committed to working all the time, and that was not sustainable. And I can honestly say that now that I've taken some more time for myself and time to really decompress, rest, relax, I've been able to do this work a lot more effectively than I could before. So don't discount your need for rest because it is truly important. So we've got about 10 minutes left, and I want to make sure that we get us out of here on time so that you can have an opportunity to connect with some of the employers downstairs. So the last thing that I'll say is, we have such a huge need for talent in this space. We, in this space, oftentimes encounter challenges with hiring and recruiting and also retaining great people who have great skill sets and who are passionate and committed to the work. So, if you fit the bill, if you are interested in doing this kind of work, if you're passionate about progressive politics, if you're passionate about serving our communities, I encourage you to, connect with the employers downstairs, connect with Max, connect with me. We'll be able to point you in the right direction and let you know if there are any job opportunities that we're aware of, because there are plenty of things to do in this space. Even if you're looking to make a career change, there's a lot of opportunities for people with legal backgrounds, for people with operational backgrounds. I actually spoke at a Gain Power event a couple of months ago virtually, and one of the attendees at the event, I don't know if maybe he's watching in our virtual audience, but he was a business, he is a business owner, and he was asking me about, opportunities in the progressive space and how to get more involved. And we ended up continuing the conversation after this event. And I kind of talked to him about the various opportunities that are available and how he can use his business and operational background in the nonprofit space. And not to call him out or anything, he is now the CEO of Hub Dialer, which is one of the most well-recognized phone vendors here in the progressive space. And so as you can see, he went from being a business owner, doing in a business that had nothing to do with progressive politics, to now using that business and operations background, working at a vendor that so many of our organizations use for all of our phone calling needs. So there are opportunities out there, no matter your skill set. As long as you're passionate and you're committed to this kind of work, there is a place for you. And we would love for you to seek out jobs in this space. So in the last couple of minutes that we have, I want to invite you all, if you have experienced this that you want to share with the rest of our audience here in the room and also on YouTube, or if you have any questions that you want to ask either Max or me, I invite you to do so. We also have Jess over here with a microphone. Yeah, I saw, ma'am, in the blue dress, I saw your hand go up first.
Thank you. For someone looking to move into advocacy, I've been talking about the need for policy at the local level. I'm a former school board president. After I was elected, I never heard from a progressive organization. And yet if we want $15 an hour, we can do it there. 5 votes. We can get renewable energy, we can get better food, we can get better curriculum, we can teach substantive climate change, we can do sex education, all of these things, and yet in the progressive space, I'm hoping you might point me somewhere because I haven't seen a single organization doing this work. Thank you.
To clarify, so you haven't seen a single organization, communicating directly with local elected officials on progressive policy issues?
So both finding progressives to run for school board,
Gotcha.
and then once they're elected, mentoring them on what is good local policy. So
Gotcha.
local issues.
Gotcha. Thank you so much for that question. Max, were you going to say something?
To both your points, both the running for the office and the educational aspect of it, there's this great organization that a friend of mine works for called Run for Something, which prioritizes progressive candidates in local elections. If you need contact info, I'd be more than happy to give that to you. You're welcome.
Yeah, and I want to say, leadership development is such an important component of our progressive movement. We need to constantly be building the bench. We need to constantly be bringing people into the fold. And that includes candidates for public office. And it also includes appointed officials, people that were, gearing up to be appointed into positions. There are a number of organizations out there that do provide these kinds of candidate trainings, and oftentimes operative trainings as well. A couple of organizations that I want to shout out as well are Vote, Run, Lead. That is another leadership development organization that trains candidates and progressive organizers. Another is New American Leaders, NAL. Really wonderful organization that specifically works with what they call New Americans, first or second generation immigrants and refugees here to the United States. We've also got organizations in specific ethnic and racial spaces. For example, the Asian Pacific American Institute for Congressional Studies does a really great candidate training. In fact, in a week or two, they're doing a women's collective where they're going to be discussing issues that are specific to women identifying folks here in this country. As far as when candidates get elected and, understanding how to govern in a progressive way, a lot of these organizations provide that kind of support as well, like Vote, Run, Lead, Apex. They do provide that kind of support. And yes, I totally agree with you. It's important because, we don't elect people to public office for the sake of electing them to public office. Like, we want them to represent our values and our needs and our concerns as a community. So I appreciate you for lifting that up. Yeah. Any other questions? Oh, yeah, sorry, go ahead. I appreciate you using the mic. I'm a little hearing impaired.
No problem. Derek Fleming, I have a question regarding some folks may be scarred from working in the operation styles of corporate America, different things like that. Any insight on what the advocacy space has similar or different from corporate America?
Oh, wow. That's such a great question. And it's like almost too thought-provoking for me to answer in full to you right now. And we're at 1 minute. But I will say it has a feeling of night and day to it. At least it did for me. But I'd be happy to give you my contact info and we can talk about this more in depth if you were wanting to know more specifics. Yeah.
Yeah. What is your name again?
Derek Fleming.
Derek. Very nice to meet you, Derek. I would say it depends on the organization. There are smaller, leaner organizations out there that don't have as much, I would say, structure as other organizations that, may have been around for longer or have, bigger staff. I would say, speaking for myself and my organization, we are a very lean team. We're a national organization with only 9 full-time staff members. We've got 3 part-time staff members, and over the summer, we typically have anywhere from 5 to 6 interns. And the way that our organization operates has evolved a lot over the years. For example, we've been very top-heavy for a number of years, where our executive director pretty much called all the shots, and we would the rest of the staff would do our best to support the executive director and their vision. In the last year or two, I would say that we've evolved insofar as we've now hired an entire senior management team. It consists of me, our director of operations and development, and our director of policy and advocacy. And the 3 of us basically now advise the executive director, and the 4 of us come together and steer the overall strategy for our organization. And it makes it easier for our junior staff as well, because now, instead of reporting directly to the executive director, now they've got someone in the middle that they can talk to more fully flesh out, their vision and their plans. And it's become truly a more collaborative work environment. And I really appreciate that about my organization. Without, naming organization names or anything, I have heard that there are some organizations out there that are more hierarchical, they're more structured, they function more similarly to a corporate entity, where I've heard of organizations where it's difficult to, have a conversation with the executive director because, they're very busy, or there are so many levels before you get to the executive director. So, long story short, it depends on the organization. And these are things that you can ask about when you're interviewing. All right, so we're at 1 minute past the end of our panel here, but I want to ask if there is one more question or so, or a comment that you want to make, go ahead. I see one right here.
So yeah, I've actually graduated 2018 and pretty much got a job in field immediately after that. But like 4 years in now, like, I don't know, starting to get a little tired, and that's kind of expand on what you were saying about the work-life balance. Like, how do you manage burnout?
That's a really good question. And as a former field organizer for, I think it was 3 straight cycles in a row, I can tell you that I think what often happens is managers, especially good ones, always want to make sure that their employees are managing their work-life balance. But oftentimes, other folks get busy and they forget to kind of put it as a priority for their employees. But I think what's great about working in the nonprofit advocacy, civic engagement space is that oftentimes that mistake is not made because your manager or supervisor has just more resources to go off. Usually, like, smaller political campaigns are these tiny shops that, can't really support, too much of this, front work or back work because there's just not enough infrastructure, right? But when you work for these, really great organizations that just have more resources, it just makes the world a difference. And then they're able to make sure that their employees are prioritizing their work-life balance. So one of the things that ended up happening with me was I came from field, and then when I went into the organization I'm currently at now, I kind of was still in that field organizer mode of constantly wanting to put my head down and work and not having any work-life balance. But within a week, I was being told to prioritize work-life balance. Another thing that often happens, just to give you another maybe tiny example, is my supervisor is constantly on my case about taking my vacation time. Not only because it's going to be so helpful for my mental health, but also because I've earned it. It's kind of a rolled-in package when you're hired as an employee. You're expected to take this vacation time because you've earned it, and it's going to be beneficial for your work-life balance and your mental health. So totally hear where you're coming from there.
Yeah, and the only thing that I would add to that, for any managers in the room, if you are, supervising staff, I would encourage you to set a good example for your staff. Value your work-life balance yourself. This is something that I always try and instill as a manager. I practice work-life balance because I want the people on my team to also practice work-life balance. And I think we run into issues when, the people that we look up to, our role models, the people that supervise us are, not as attuned to the need for balance. So with that, thank you for that question. So that is all the time that we have for our panel today. I want to thank you all for coming, and I hope that you enjoy the rest of this Talent Expo.
You.